On November 24, 1971, a man in a business suit handed a note to a flight attendant, opened a briefcase, and changed American crime forever, then simply walked out of a plane at 10,000 feet. What the crew of Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 didn't know, as they prepared for a routine Thanksgiving Eve flight from Seattle to Tacoma, was that their passenger manifest included someone about to commit the only unsolved case of air piracy in commercial aviation history. The decision he made that afternoon, a choice made under pressure, with incomplete information, would consume decades of federal resources and spawn a mythology that outlives every participant. 2:50 p.m., November 24, 1971, a man using the alias Dan Cooper, later misremembered as D.B. Cooper by the press, boarded the aircraft. He wore a dark business suit, a black tie, sunglasses, and carried a briefcase. To the crew, he was unremarkable. He purchased a one-way ticket to Tacoma for $20. He sat in seat 18C, middle row. He ordered bourbon and soda. He waited. 20 minutes into the flight, at cruising altitude over southwestern Washington, Cooper opened his briefcase. Inside was what he claimed was a bomb. He showed it to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. She saw wires. She believed him. That was his first decision point, and it worked. The crew didn't question the threat. They radioed air traffic control. The captain descended. Everything Cooper had planned for depended on people making rational choices when terrified. His demands were specific. He wanted $200,000 in $20 bills. He wanted a parachute. He wanted the plane kept in the air, flying slow with the landing gear down. He wanted the rear stairs lowered. These weren't the demands of someone improvising. He'd calculated payload weight, air resistance, jump altitude, and escape vectors. Every request revealed a man who'd studied the physics of disappearance. The crew faced a choice: negotiate or escalate. The captain, Robert Rackley, decided to comply. He radioed Seattle-Tacoma Airport. The FBI was notified. But here's what they didn't know yet. By the time federal agents scrambled to gather $200,000 in unmarked bills from local banks, Cooper was already hours ahead of them in execution. He'd chosen his timing perfectly. Thanksgiving Eve meant fewer military aircraft, fewer ground personnel, fewer eyes on the sky. 5:39 p.m. The money arrived. $2,020 bills, each recorded and photographed. Cooper examined them. He counted. He was satisfied. Then he released all 36 passengers and 2 flight attendants in exchange for the parachutes and a promise: keep flying. The plane lifted off again with a skeleton crew and one man holding a briefcase he claimed held explosives. The captain maintained altitude at 10,000 feet, speed 200 miles per hour, direction south toward Portland. 8 p.m. Somewhere over the dense forest of southwestern Washington, Cooper lowered the rear stairs. He strapped on a parachute. He told the crew to stay in the cockpit. Then he did something no one in commercial aviation had ever done before. He jumped into darkness with $200,000 in a duffel bag, into terrain he'd never seen, in weather he couldn't fully predict. He'd made his final decision under pressure, with incomplete information about the ground below. The plane continued to Portland. The crew never saw him again. Within hours, the FBI launched the largest manhunt in its history. Roadblocks, checkpoints, bloodhounds, helicopters, divers searched rivers. Agents interviewed suspects. They spent millions. They found nothing. Not a trace of Cooper, not a footprint, not a scrap of the parachute. He'd vanished as completely as if he'd never existed. 50 years passed. No arrests. No confessions. The case went cold, then lukewarm, then became legend. Armchair detectives published theories. Amateur investigators combed archives. The FBI officially suspended active investigation in 2016, yet the basic facts remained unchanged. $200,000 in marked bills vanished into the night. One man disappeared into the forest. No body was ever found. Then in 1980, a breakthrough emerged. The though not the one investigators hoped for. A young boy named Richard Floyd found $5,200 of the ransom money buried near the Columbia River about 9 miles south of the jump zone. The bills matched the serial numbers. They were real, but the discovery raised more questions than it answered. How did $5,200 end up there, while $194,800 remained lost? Did Cooper bury it? Did he lose it mid-jump? Did someone else find it first? The money itself became a puzzle. Forensic analysis revealed it had been exposed to the elements rain, soil, possibly water. The bills showed wear patterns consistent with being buried for years, not carried. Yet no other trace of Cooper surfaced. No parachute, no jumpsuit, no body. The forest had swallowed him, or he'd landed, survived, and disappeared into ordinary life. Theories multiplied. Some argued Cooper died in the jump. The terrain was brutal, the night pitch black, the parachute potentially faulty. Others insisted he survived, landed safely, and lived out his life under an assumed name. A few investigators claimed to have identified him: Richard Floyd, McCoy Jr., Robert Rackley, Lynn Cooper. Each theory had evidence. None had proof. What makes Cooper's choice fascinating isn't just that he succeeded. It's that he succeeded by understanding human psychology under duress. He knew that a calm threat, delivered with apparent expertise, would override panic. He knew that bureaucratic systems move slowly. He knew that darkness and weather would confound pursuit. He'd counted the costs: legal penalty, risk of death, uncertainty of escape, and decided the payoff justified them. The $200,000 he stole would be worth roughly $1.5 million in today's money. But Cooper never spent it, or if he did, he left no trace. The recovered $5,200 sits in FBI archives. The remaining $194,800 remains missing, buried somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, or lost to time and decay. It's a fortune that vanished as completely as the man who stole it. The FBI closed its active investigation decades ago. They never proved Cooper survived. They never proved he died. They never recovered the bulk of the money. What remains is a perfect crime that isn't actually solved, only abandoned. Cooper's decision, made under pressure with incomplete information, bought him something money couldn't: immortality. He became the ghost in American crime. Every few years, someone claims to be Cooper or claims to know who he was. The internet obsesses. Amateur detectives resurface old evidence. New theories bloom, but the forest keeps its secret. The money stays buried, and Dan Cooper, or whoever he really was, remains the only person in history to pull off a major air piracy and vanish completely into myth. The case teaches us something uncomfortable. Sometimes the most audacious decisions, made by someone with the right combination of planning and nerve, can succeed despite overwhelming odds against them. Cooper didn't fail because he was caught. He failed, if he failed, only because the forest was unforgiving, or because he chose to vanish rather than spend the money. The treasure hunt never ended because the treasure was never fully found. Subscribe. Every week we uncover another unsolved mystery where the treasure, the culprit, or the answer is still waiting to be found.